If you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, it's Sunday, January 27th, and it's 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm here, you're here. Let's get started. There's no Q post for today, but we have plenty of Q-related news. There's never a shortage of that. So let's get into it. And I've got this one already pulled up. I wanted to just kind of mention this in passing. It's an article from a couple days ago, and it says scientists have figured out how to use a laser to transmit audio ranging from music to speech to a person across the room without any receiver equipment, a potential breakthrough for future of audio and communications. Now, I guess why I wanted to bring this up is, why is this just getting into the news now when we know this technology has been being used for many years now, and those in the I don't know, it's hard to know what to call this community that we are, because it's not just patriots. Well, mainly it is, because generally the people that believe in these sorts of things are patriots. So let's just call it the patriot community, but have known this for a while, that there was such a thing as voice of God technology, and that's what they call it. It's been well known, and now that they are bringing that out into the open, that should kind of alert us to the fact that it actually has been going on for a long time, because by the time it gets to the people, you know, they've perfected it. And we do know that this kind of technology is used in the military. And I know, you know, when I'm reading about this kind of stuff, I think, well, gee, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, there's a lot of potential for abuse there, a lot. But I understand why it could be helpful, because if you're a law enforcement or officer, or if you're a soldier in war, you don't really want anybody else to hear communication, right? So you could beam something into somebody's ear and have them hear it without anybody else. So I do understand that, you know, it does have a use, but I also understand that there's a great potential for it to go wrong, and I believe that it has been used in false flags to convince people that they need to commit a crime. They say they hear these voices, never heard a voice before, all of a sudden a voice comes telling them to do this heinous crime. So there you go. Now, I didn't want to spend too much time on that, so we're going to go on. But it is something you can look up if you've never heard of it, or you know, think it's out there, that's fine too. But at least research it a bit before you say, hey, that's too far out there, because they're admitting now that they have the technology to do that. All right, now this here is interesting, from the Gateway Pundit. Update: more force used on Roger Stone's house arrest than to storm Osama bin Laden's compound. Yeah. Now, granted, I don't believe the official news report on the raid on bin Laden's compound. I just don't. I believe that he was dead. You know, by the time Osama bin Laden, he needed that extra little boost, and, you know, yeah, we killed him. No, you don't. You don't dump his body in the ocean. I mean, no, I don't believe it. I never did believe it. But the fact that more force was used on Roger Stone's home than to storm his compound, Osama bin Laden's compound, that's pretty out there. On May 2nd, 2011, in the early morning hours, 25 Navy SEALs stormed Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad. I love that word, Abbottabad. And I've got to say it again, Abbottabad. Abbottabad. Abbottabad, Pakistan. It is an awesome word. I'm a logophile. A logophile is somebody that loves words. It's probably why I did my master's in English, because I absolutely love the English language. And that is an awesome word. You've got to admit, it's an awesome word. It just sounds awesome. Abbottabad. It sounds like someplace you'd find someone like Osama bin Laden, in Abbottabad. Anyway, I'm going on from that. The Navy SEALs arrived in two Black Hawk helicopters to storm the compound of the terrorist leader behind the 9/11 attacks. On January 25th, 2019, in the pre-dawn hours, at least 6 FBI vehicles and 29 FBI agents stormed Trump associate Roger Stone's home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The deep state officers were dressed in tactical vests and large weapons. They were wearing night vision glasses. This is the Mueller's deep state at work. They send out fully armed tactical teams to harass and abuse political opponents in the dead of night, and only CNN hacks get tipped off beforehand. Well, it wasn't really in the dead of night, but it was early morning. And apparently there was also a helicopter there, and I mean, there was other things not mentioned in this article. So anyway, there you go. I guess, Roger Stone is more dangerous than Osama bin Laden, according to the deep state. Wonder what he knows. Anyway, let's go back. And let's go to this. Because we can. I want to say Abbottabad again. Forgive me, okay? Abbottabad. All right. I'll save the rest for when I'm not on camera. I'll just go to sleep tonight whispering Abbottabad. Okay. That's probably why I'm not married, because there's no man that would put up with that. Sleeping beside someone whispering Abbottabad. It wouldn't work. Okay, Ocasio-Cortez gets in Twitter feud with a Washington Post fact checker. Facts win, but Ocasio-Cortez, I get her name all, claims victory anyhow. Well, she would, wouldn't she? Because in her world, it's not about facts, it's about morality. Okay. Amid a string of unfavorable fact checks by mainstream media outlets, freshman Democrat Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has launched her own version of war on the media, in particular fact checkers who she says spend too much time analyzing the factuality of her claims rather than the morality of her sentiments. That's right, people. You are wrong for wanting people to be correct. They should be able to say whatever they like, even if it's not correct. If it's moral. How can you find out if it's moral if it's not even correct? I don't know. Primed for the fight, the youngest woman elected to Congress, and arguably the dumbest. Let me see here. I lost my. I'm glad you don't come here for the professionalism. Anyway, primed for the fight, the youngest woman elected to Congress and future of the Democratic Party, oh, they're screwed, took a preemptive shot at the Washington Post after the outlet contacted her office about another fact-challenged interview. But the shot ended up backfiring and resulting in Ocasio-Cortez offering a qualified apology to an economist, but then claiming victory anyhow. Okay. As noted in the fact check, the Twitter feud with Washington Post Glenn Kessler actually began before Kessler published his piece. Kessler's fact check, which the Daily Wire covered here, took a close look at Ocasio-Cortez's statement in a Martin Luther King Day interview with the Atlantic's Ta-Nehisi Coates. And this is what Occasional Cortex had to say. I think it's wrong that a vast majority of the country doesn't make a living wage. I think it's wrong that you can work 100 hours and not feed your kids. I think it's wrong that corporations like Walmart and Amazon can get paid by the government, essentially experience a wealth transfer from the public for paying people less than minimum wage. Okay. Kessler started off his fact check by letting the reader know that he had a tense conversation with a spokesman for the Congresswoman, which was followed by the media-savvy Occasional Cortex attempting to preempt his fact check with a tweet. I don't think billionaires should concentrate wealth while employing people who are sleeping in cars, working a zillion hours to survive. Sounds like something she'd say. Next day. That will be 10 Pinocchios to Ocasio. Zillion is not a number, and I found someone who sleeps in a tent, not a car. Okay, that's the exact same thing that we just read. Kessler then got to the business of fact-checking her claims in the Coates interview, noting that her first claim that a vast majority of the country does not have a living wage is first based on a faulty premise because the living wage is not really a measure of income but of living costs before taxes such as food, childcare, housing, transportation, and other basic necessities. And thus, it's not some simple universal number that applies to everyone everywhere. For example, if you live in Los Angeles, a living wage there is going to be extremely higher than if you are living, say, somewhere in Texas or upstate New York or where I live in the boonies, close to cities but still quite remote. Cost of living here is much cheaper. So yeah, I mean, I would think that everyone would know that. But again, I assume too much sometimes. So he noted that her office sent him an article claiming that about 51 million households, 43% of all households, don't earn enough to afford a monthly budget. That includes housing, food, childcare, healthcare, transportation, and a cell phone. That's not a majority, he pointed out. That article, he suggested, is flawed anyhow. Referring to a report to the left-leaning Brookings Institution, Kessler argued that the real percentage of households earning less than 16.07 an hour was about 32 to 38%. Kessler then refuted the Congresswoman's claim that Walmart and Amazon pay their employees less than minimum wage, because that would be illegal, by simply pointing out both Walmart and Amazon do pay more than the minimum wage. The Post awards 3 Pinocchios for claims that contain significant factual errors and or obvious contradictions, Kessler concluded. Let me see. In a back and forth chronicled by Hot Air's John Sexton, Occasional Cortex took to Twitter and engaged in a multi-day feud with Kessler, which included the representative falsely claiming Kessler used a report by a Walmart-funded think tank. Do these people, listen to themselves? Anyway, so she claimed that Kessler was using a Walmart-funded think tank. Okay, does she actually think that Walmart pays their employees less than minimum wage, which is illegal? Really? Wow. Anyway, Walmart-funded think tank, there you go. That actually ended up being a report by the former chairman of Obama's Council of Economic Advisors under Obama, Jason Furman. After Occasional Cortex suggested Furman probably left government to collect a lobbyist check, Furman, who's no lobbyist, eventually weighed in to inform the representative that the paper was not funded by anyone, but in fact produced for a conference hosted by the left-leaning Center for American Progress. Yeah, she got owned. Yes, she did. Now, yeah, unreal. Okay, hang on here. I love this because Glenn Kessler says, check the name of the author, Jason Furman, a chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under Obama. He's someone I've known for 20 plus years, and he's simply citing some basic economics. I included the link only because his discussion of the economics was detailed and thorough. Makes sense to me. But she has to reply, honestly, it's better to keep your mouth shut and let people think that you're wise than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I know, I could take that advice myself at times. All right, revolving door politics doesn't care what admin a person worked for. The truth is, many folks come to government to collect a title and leave to collect a lobbyist check. Washington Post itself touched on this by covering the Harvard orientation. You're legitimizing that by citing this study. Honestly, I think if I was locked in a room and had to be in a debate with her, I think I would probably get searching through my purse for something to slit my wrists with. I'm just saying. Anyway, Glenn Kessler, he's no lobbyist. Here's his bio, blah, blah, blah. And yeah. And then this from Jason Primo. And whatever anybody else feels about Jason, at Jason Furman, I have loads of respect. The fact that the study was published by the Mackinac Center is absolutely something relevant to readers. You can't say you're giving claims a just the facts treatment and then cite Cato. And Jason Furman, thanks for the respect. The paper was done for a conference at the Center for American Progress, not saying they agree. They agreed or agree with it and was not funded by anyone. I've never heard of the Mackinac Center and assume they must have reposted it on their website. Yeah, her Walmart funded claim debunked ocasio-cortex. I get it mixed up sometimes. Occasional cortex offered an apology to Furman. But when they went on to claim victory over Washington Post, despite failing to accurately fact-check his fact-checked. Now, this is Daniel W. Dresner. You might want to do a little research on Jason Furman and then apologize for the implications in this tweet. And he said that in response to Occasional Cortex, who said, I'm criticizing the rationale of saying we should trust a questioned source paper because of a standing friendship and ex-admin because neither preclude the possibility of revolving door politics. If the tweet read as though I was going after Jason Furman specifically, I apologize. Great politician here. She blah, 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 and says nothing. Nothing. There's nothing, a substance there. Of course. And then she tweets this. Who watches the watchers? Oh, we're watching you, Occasional Cortex. We need to, because we're afraid that you're going to leave the stove on and burn the whole White House down or something. You know, really, at this level of intelligence, you have to worry about things like that. We do need to watch her. I don't want her burning down Congress or, forgetting to lock doors. I don't know. So who watches the watchers? Yeah. So anyway, there you go. And yeah, she thinks that Walmart employees make less than minimum wage. All right then. Now I agree. They pay very low wage, and yeah, that's a problem, especially when they move in and Main Street USA, Main Street Canada goes away in favor of Walmart. The mom and pop stores are eaten up, and because they can't compete, nobody can compete with Walmart. But if we want, you can't have higher wages and low cost for items. Like, you can't have the cheap prices and pay, so I don't know. That is something that has been debated for decades now. So anyway, let's go on. No, really, let's. All right, this is something interesting, and I found this on a popular conspiracy theory website, but I thought it was well written, so I grabbed it and did make a few corrections in spelling and so forth. Not spelling, mainly grammar, but anyway, the real reason of the shutdown was related to legally and permanently removing the deep state SES. Targeting Obama's 8,000 holdovers was keystone. So how do you remove deep state SES employees that are impossible to remove? Easy. Follow the law. These deep state SES employees rated above GS-15 pay grade, that's $120,000 to $180,000 a year, that are deeply embedded in all agencies. Some estimate that 85% of these employees do nothing except obstruct Trump. Oh, I believe that. I know how it is in government organizations. But this is interesting, and we have touched on this before, the whole idea of the deep state SES employees that are holdovers that can't be fired. And it's something that I'm no expert on, but I'm aware of it, and I have been reading about it. But anyway, let's go on. So they get 26 vacation days per year and 13 sick days. Any shutdown act furloughs employees for over 30 days, activates RIF layoffs, reduction in force. We've talked about that before, such as 5 USC 3595, subpart B of 5 DFR 352, subpart H of 5 CFR 359, and 5 CFR 359 plus F plus a few more. During the shutdown, agency directors are functioning fine with a fraction of the staff and are building a case for downsizing. Each agency will now legally submit to the OPM a plan to downsize or eliminate entire agencies by proving how much they accomplished during the shutdown with far less staff. Top off the list for downsizing, Department of Education and the EPA. Here's the best bit. Furloughed employees were not able to view or check government emails, so any staff under FBI investigation would have been monitored for misuse. And if FISA was active, they would be monitored at home too. When they return for the next 21 days, computer programs can monitor activity ranging from malfeasance, misconduct, or neglect of duty as measured against prior levels of work effort to find the data outliers and performance gaps. Now this little bit right here, I don't know, but this is very well written and laid out here, and I happen to agree with it mostly. All right, let's come down here. And during the 35-day shutdown, the agency directors and non-furloughed employees had complete unfettered access to all emails, communications, project, and workflow of furloughed staff. Bad actors are outed. Now, imagine you return to work and were presented with the option of early retirement, a $25,000 separation check, and signing away all your rights to legal recourse in exchange for certain files to be shelved, providing you honored your agreement. This sounds very, very plausible to me. And I know some of you may be thinking, what do you mean? Give them $25,000? Well, do you know how much they're sucking out of us every year? Like, these people are making $120,000 to $180,000 a year and doing nothing. Most of them, they're just excess, superfluous. So yeah, give them $25, pat them on the behind, and send them out the door. Everyone's happy, especially the American taxpayers. All right. And then this person goes on, Roger Stone. How do you legally insert evidence? Roger goes to trial. He testifies, I did not talk to any Russians about the DNC emails. And of course he didn't, because the Russians had nothing to do with the emails. We know that. We've known this for a very long time now, over a year. Mueller team, bullshit. Stone, I can prove it. Subpoena Julian Assange's text messages and emails. Julian is extradited. His testimony, emails, and texts prove Seth Rich delivered him a thumb drive with the DNC docs. At the same time, new evidence surfaces that implicates high-level Democrats in his murder. Mic drop. In front of the frenzied world with all eyes on Mueller, the Russian collusion investigation is proven the biggest fraud ever perpetrated on the American public, while the real boogeymen played America for complete fools. Now, to me, plausible, very, very plausible, because we know that if Julian Assange ever testified and gave the evidence that, yeah, okay, not only did Russia have nothing to do with this, but it was Seth Rich and he was murdered, and these are the people that are implicated in that murder, how do you think that would go over? Of course, we'd have all mainstream media, saying all sorts of crap like usual. It would be the same dog and pony show for the most part, except the information would be out there at that point and legal. It would have been obtained legally. So, now we're going to go over some things here. Telegraph apologizes and pays $2.5 million in damages to Melania Trump. So let's go here. I think this is very telling. See, she's not going to take it anymore. Telegraph apologizes and pays damages to Melania Trump. British newspaper pulls article peppered with false claims about U.S. First Lady from its site. Yeah. The Daily Telegraph has paid substantial damages to Melania Trump and apologized unreservedly to the U.S. First Lady after making a number of false claims about her life in an article. The claims were made in a story entitled The Mystery of Melania, which ran on the cover of last Saturday's Telegraph magazine, but the newspaper has now said it included a number of errors about Donald Trump's wife, which should not have been published. No kidding. The piece promised to tell the truth of what is described as the most private and enigmatic of presidential wives after interviews with White House insiders, Slovenian school friends, and photographers. The newspaper, after an unusually swift retraction and settlement, pulled the story by the U.S. journalist Nina Burley, who works for Newsweek and is the author of the book Golden Handcuffs, The Secret History of Trump's Women. The Telegraph took the story down from its website and issued a lengthy point-by-point correction. The newspaper said in a statement retracting the piece, Mrs. Trump's father was not a fearsome presence and did not control the family. Mrs. Trump did not leave her design and architecture course. Now, when they're talking about Mrs. Trump, they're talking about Melania here. Whereas when they're talking about Mrs. Trump's father, so Melania's father was not a fearsome presence, and her mother, and he did not control the family, and she did not leave her design and architecture course at university relating to the completion of an exam as alleged in the article, but rather because she wanted to pursue a successful career as a professional model, which she did. And she was very successful prior to meeting Donald Trump, and in fact would never have met Donald Trump had she not been a model. Anyway, Mrs. Trump was not struggling in her modeling career before she met Mr. Trump, and she did not advance in her career due to the assistance of Mr. Trump. We accept that Mrs. Trump was a successful professional model in her own right before she met her husband and obtained her own modeling work without his assistance. Look at her. Does she look like she needs any assistance in getting jobs? I mean, now she would, just because of who she's married to and because people want to take out their dislike and hatred, vehement hatred of Donald Trump on her. But you really think she had a hard time getting modeling jobs? I don't think so. Really, come on. Anyway, the article also wrongly claimed that Mrs. Trump's father, and sister relocated to New York in 2005 to live in buildings owned by Mr. Trump. They did not. The claim that Mrs. Trump cried on election night is also false. We apologize unreservedly to the First Lady and her family for any embarrassment caused by our publication of these allegations. As a mark of our regret, we have agreed to pay Mrs. Trump substantial damages as well as her legal costs. So I think that this is very important because she's not backing down, and they couldn't prove these allegations, and it turns out they were false. They had to not only retract, but pay damages. Good. I hope that'll make the next, journalist in line to do a story about her. I hope that will serve as a warning, because it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what they do. And, we didn't mean any, they can't even say that. How can they say that with a straight face? We didn't mean it. We didn't mean it. Yeah, we know. Sells more papers, right? All right, let's go back. No, really, let's. Okay. And we're not going to do that right now. Trump takes a swipe at Hillary after Stone's arrest. And you know what? Let's go back here because we're getting Time gets a ticking. Okay, this westernjournal.com, President Donald Trump responded Saturday to news of Roger Stone's Friday indictment with a list of Democrats and justice officials he wants to see in trouble for alleged lying. If Roger Stone was indicted for lying to Congress, what about the lying done by Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Lisa Page, and Lover, Baker, and so many others? What about Hillary to FBI and her 33,000 deleted emails? What about Lisa and Peter's deleted texts and Weiner's laptop? Much more, Trump tweeted Saturday, while White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders responded to the news of the arrest of Donald Trump campaign advisor Roger Stone for allegedly making false statements to Congress, questioning if Hillary Clinton, former FBI Director James Comey, and former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper will be held to the same standard. Well, of course they won't. Well, we hope eventually they will. They better. They better. Because I know if you're anything like me, I'm like up to here. And it's not that, so many patriots are turning on Donald Trump, and I'm not there. I'm not there. I always reserve. I'm not going to go way over on this side and say, oh, he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's going to be the savior of the world. No, he's not. We have one savior, and he's not Donald Trump. And although he has done extraordinary things while he's been in office, he's just flesh and blood, and he can fail like anyone else. Now, he is our best hope as far as the mess we're in terms of corruption, absolute, complete corruption of our political system. But, I'm not ready to, just because things aren't happening in the time frame that I want them to happen, I'm not willing to say, oh, forget it, and turn and support someone else. No, I think he's our only hope, our best hope. So time will tell. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard this. Russian bombers buzz North American coastline. We even got the news up here, and we don't get any news. They try to keep us in the dark up here. But it's not working. All right. Russian bombers buzz North American coastline. This should be a little disconcerting. A pair of Russian supersonic nuclear capable bombers buzzed North America Saturday, forcing American and Canadian fighter jets to scramble and intercept them, the U.S. military said. The two Russian Tu-160 Blackjack bombers remained in international airspace, but were escorted by two U.S. Air Force F-22 fighter jets and two Canadian CF-18 jets, according to a statement from the North American Aerospace Defense Command, better known as NORAD. The U.S. jets flew from an Air Force base in Alaska. The Russian bombers' flight near North America, the first known flight this year, coincides with the visit of NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg to Washington to meet Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Acting Defense Secretary Pat Shanahan, and National Security Advisor John Bolton. President Trump has mulled pulling the United States out of NATO, according to senior administration officials. U.S. reconnaissance aircraft routinely fly off the coast of Russia and Russian-occupied Crimea, staying just outside the 12 nautical mile territorial limit. In 2017, U.S. nuclear capable bombers flew over the Baltic Sea and were intercepted by Russian fighter jets. And in 2018, a similar scenario played out as Russian bombers escorted by fighter jets flew near Alaska on September 11th before the U.S. intercepted them with F-22s. In early December, a pair of Russian Tu-160 Blackjack bombers flew from Venezuela to Russia in a sign of support for embattled President Nicolas Maduro. So, I don't know. What do you think of the Russian jets buzzing the coast? Don't know. Do you guys know what that's all about? Do you have any... You guys that have military background or whatever have probably a lot more insight into this than any of us would. So, or any of us that are not involved in the military would. So, your opinions are always welcome in the comments, always. And let's go back. try to, all right. Oh yes, and we already went over this. Yesterday, the CNN reporter Josh Campbell, who was outside of Roger Stone's house yesterday morning, used to work for the FBI. He was also the assistant to James Comey. Now, let's take a look at this, shall we? Sure we shall. Here we go. I'm starting to get tired all of a sudden. It just kind of like came over me, and it's still early. Anyway, Ocasio-Cortez, see, I've said her name incorrectly so many times as Ocasio-Cortex that now, well, you know, uses government shutdown to threaten GOP senators. Can you believe she's brand new in her job and like she gets more face time? So I think that obviously the deep state has big plans for her. She's getting so much face time, and a lot of it is negative, but even negative FaceTime is still FaceTime. People still remember her. All right, let's look here. And this says, correction, an earlier version of this article incorrectly said New York State's DREAM Act would extend green cards to illegal immigrants brought to the United States as children. The legislation actually provides state financial aid for illegal immigrant college students. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said on Friday that she believes the Republican senators should be scared for their jobs in 2020. Ooh, I bet they're shaking. Following the government shutdown, Ocasio-Cortez, who is an avid Democrat and self-described socialist, said that she went to the Senate on Thursday with her colleagues to witness who was voting against reopening the government. Did she now? I watch them huddle and look around. They know this is on them, Ocasio-Cortez said in her tweet. GOP senators should be scared for their jobs in 2020 after voting to imperil so many others' livelihoods now. Yeah. On Thursday, the Senate voted on dueling bills to reopen the government, neither which had enough votes to pass. The bills, which were brought on the 34th day of the partial government shutdown, were brought one each by Senate Democrats and Republicans. The first bill rejected was the Republican plan to open the government through September and provide the $5.7 billion to President Donald Trump for the border wall. ABC 13 reported the first bill failed with a 51-47 vote, 9 short of the needed 60 votes. The second bill was brought by Democrats and would have been a short-term funding bill with no money for the wall. The second bill failed with 52-44 votes, which was 8 votes short of the needed 60, while Ocasio-Cortez harshly criticized Republicans who voted against a bill that she appears to have considered a viable option. The freshman congresswoman herself was the only Democrat to vote against a Wednesday funding bill. Imagine that. The New York Post reported that the representative from Queens, New York, was the only Democrat to oppose the bill that would have reopened the government temporarily. She did so because it included funding for immigration and customs enforcement, which Ocasio-Cortez vocally condemns. She doesn't like those ICE people. We were having a conversation with our community after we voted for DHS, Department of Homeland Security funding for the first time, Ocasio-Cortez told the Post, and after House votes, we're hearing back from a lot of our local community, and they're uncomfortable with any vote on funding for ICE. We don't want to make them uncomfortable, no. Ocasio-Cortez, who represents a district with a dense Latino population, tweeted the day after the Wednesday vote that while the White House drags us into the past by holding people hostage for a wall, New York is showing what a different future looks like by passing a statewide DREAM Act for New York families. Yeah. So the tweet included an announcement about the New York DREAM Act, which provides state financial aid for college students who are illegal immigrants. Yes, that's right. In New York, the DREAM Act, if you are an illegal immigrant, you can have your college paid for. How does that make you feel, people who have college degrees and paid for them? Doesn't make me feel real warm and fuzzy, I'll tell you that much. All right, let's go back, shall we? Sure we shall. Now, I'm gonna skip some of this stuff, and there's this Chinese government taking down Christian symbols, replacing them with pictures of Mao. That's not good news. And World of Walls, how 65 countries have erected fences on their borders, 4 times as many as when the Berlin Wall was toppled, as governments try to hold back the tide of migrants. Now, some of this I'm going to save for another video because I've got tons of stuff here. But let's take a look at this. This from Pink About It. New York just passed a new law giving free college to dreamers. New Yorkers paying taxes will not only pay for newly legalized abortions at 9 months, they'll pay for other people's college and health care for all. Soon, people will poop on the sidewalks, just like San Francisco. Not San Francisco. That's wrong. It's San Francisco. Wasn't there something that had a little ditty in it? The San Francisco treat? Okay, there's like echoes from my childhood coming from somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, okay. And then there's this from Donald J. Trump, who is our president, regardless of what people think. Yeah. We are not even into February, and the cost of illegal immigration so far this year is $18 billion. Hello? $18 billion. That have been reported for years in our country. Wait. Cost Friday was 603,331. Oh gosh, that's millions. 603,330. I can't read. It's got 6 figures. It's got to be billion. I'm as bad as occasional cortex today. That's saying something. There are at least 25 million. That's 6 million. I don't know. How come I can't read that? I'm not good at math. That's why I majored in English. You know, you can't have it all. Really, you can't. I wish I could, but I wouldn't know where to put it. So anyway, there's a heck of a lot of money we're spending on immigration already this year. We spent $18 billion, and that's way more than the cost of the wall. So what are we waiting for? Gosh, I'm worried now that I've got occasional cortex syndrome. I'm worried. No, seriously, I am. And Ben Shapiro, responding to Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, get this. First, Elizabeth Warren tweets, "This billionaire NFL owner just paid $100 million for a super yacht. The nerve! With its own IMAX theater." Oh my gosh, not an IMAX theater. My gosh, somebody has to stop him. Oh my gosh, he paid $100 million for a super yacht with its own IMAX theater. I'm pretty sure he can pay me my new ultra-millionaire tax to help the millions of yachtless Americans struggling with student loan debt. Okay, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. She's ragging out on a billionaire NFL owner who bought with his own money that he earned $100 million super yacht. Okay, so has anyone died? No. Has he embezzled any money? Not that we know of. Has he committed any crimes? Not that we know of. So what is her big, argument with him having this yacht? Oh, look at all the people that don't have yachts. That's not fair. It's not fair that you worked hard and you earned that money and you have a yacht with an IMAX theater and I only have a rowboat. That's not fair. I have a blow-up boat. I should have a yacht. I want a yacht. That's what she's saying, Elizabeth Warren. It's a crime. It's a crime that this man is so rich. And so now she's come up with this ultra-millionaire tax. Oh, well, that will relieve him of his excess money. Yeah, she wants to relieve him of any excess money that he has so it can be redistributed to the people that didn't work as hard. Now, I'm not going to get into any argument about whether he deserves his paycheck or not. I don't care. I really don't. But if you work hard in America, generally, you can get ahead. That's been my experience. If you work hard, you make some sacrifices. I made some sacrifices to go to school and so forth, increase my education. I know it's hard to tell from tonight's video, but I did. And so, you know, there's nobody that knows me that would ever look at me. Okay, well, I'm not wealthy, but if I was, nobody would say, well, you know what? You don't deserve that. Well, none of us deserve anything that we have, really. I mean, it's all a gift from above. That's how I view it anyway. And I don't understand that. They're vilifying the rich. And that's what we're getting in this country, the U.S. I consider myself U.S. And, you know, you've got people keying up expensive cars because they're mad because they can't have a car like that. So I'm going to key his car up. I don't care that he went to school for 12 years and that he sacrificed and, you know, that he works 80 hours a week or that, you know, he's a doctor or whatever. I don't care about that. I'm going to key his car up because he doesn't deserve that. He should give that to me because I don't have a car. That's literally the mindset that people have. What's going to happen? Like, are they going to stir people up to the point where there is absolute utter hatred for the rich? The rich aren't the problem. I know people think they are, but socialism is not an answer to anything. Study it out. Look at history. Look at Venezuela. I bet you they're not speaking too highly of socialism right now, are they? All right. Anyway, so Ben Shapiro responds to this absolutely idiotic, asinine, ludicrous post by Elizabeth Warren by saying, I'm pretty sure it's none of your damn business which business a tax compliant person chooses to empower with his purchases. Yeah, what she fails to process is that when he takes his money and he buys something in America, he is supporting people who work. He's supporting people who build yachts, who, you know, look at how many people he supports with that purchase. You know, that's what we do. We get more money and we think, gee, I'd like a better fridge. I'd like a better stove. I'd like a nicer car. That's what you do. You put it back into the economy. It's not, I don't get this mindset. But anyway, let's move on before I blow, you know, a gasket or something. Take this out so I'll know we covered it. And Hillary paid $12.2 million to Russian spies during the election to try to hurt Trump. If that's not Russian collusion, then what is? The guy's got a point. Jacob Wall. Now, I feel like I've been going for a while here, and indeed I have. So I'm going to stop, and I may do a second video tonight because we still have quite a bit of stuff to go over, enough to probably do another 40-minute video. So I'm going to shut it down here, give you all a rest and maybe, you know, have some coffee or tea and get my mind, you know. Anyway, all right, so that's it, and I will speak to you guys soon. Hope you're having a great night and hope you continue to have a great night. Stay safe, stay well, and stay blessed. I will talk to you guys real soon.